In the weeks before Christmas, we celebrate the season of Advent. Do you know what Advent means?
Coming.
Who is coming?
Jesus.
Right. During Advent, we celebrate the coming of Jesus. And we celebrate that by waiting. Over these next 4 Sundays, we will journey to Bethlehem as we wait for Jesus' coming. Each week we will have a lesson that will help us to remember some important parts of the story while we wait. Today's lesson is about the prophet. Prophets were used to give messages to God's people. God spoke to them and told them things that he wanted his people, the children of Israel, to know. During the time when God spoke to prophets, things were usually not very good for the people of Israel. These were dark days. They had turned away from him. God's people worshipped idols, and because of this sin, they were ruled by evil kings and were destroyed by other nations. When God spoke to the prophets, he reminded his people that he still loved them and that he would keep his promises. And all of the words that God said to the prophets are written in this book. What book is this?
The Bible.
The Bible. Here are the words of the prophet Jeremiah. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, who will reign as king and deal wisely. He will be just and righteous in the land. In his days Judah will be saved, and Israel will dwell securely. And this is the name by which he shall be called, the Lord is our righteousness. And here are the words of the prophet Micah. But you, O Bethlehem, who are too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel, whose coming forth is from of old, from ancient days. And my people will be secure, for he will be great to the ends of the earth, and he shall be their peace. Can you find Bethlehem anywhere on this table?
Yes.
There it is, yes. And we have to get through each one of these boxes in these next weeks as we journey toward Bethlehem. Here are the words of our last prophet for today, the prophet Isaiah. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them has light shone. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Let's light the candle for the prophets. Micah and Jeremiah and Isaiah and the rest of the prophets who loved God and waited in darkness for hundreds of years. They waited in suffering because of sin. They waited for God to send the promised Savior into the world. And when we celebrate Advent, we wait just like the prophets did. As we wait for Christmas, we remember how God's people waited for Jesus. Advent means God coming to us in Jesus. God's people waited all through the end of the Old Testament, and at the beginning of the New Testament, they were still waiting. The Romans ruled over the land of Israel. One day, God would send an angel to earth with a message. The angel's name was Gabriel. And next week, we will light a candle for Gabriel and learn about the message that Gabriel brought from God. Now I have some questions for you. What was the darkness in which the people were living? What caused the darkness?
Plague.
No. They were living in darkness because they had done so many things that were wrong. Their darkness was caused because of
Their sins.
Yes. Who was going to come and be the light in their darkness?
Jesus.
Can you think of some things that you have waited for, or even some things that you're still waiting for right now? What are some things When you think about the word waiting, what are some things you've waited for in your life?
Let's see. I've been waiting for my birthday.
For your birthday? What are you waiting for right now? What holiday?
Christmas.
Okay. What are some other things that you're waiting for? Right now, almost everyone is waiting in order to be able to have normal lives back again, right? What are we waiting for?
I'm waiting for coronavirus to end.
Okay, that's good. So waiting really means something to us right now. We are waiting for all of our regular things, and we're even waiting for more things. But during this month of December, we are waiting to celebrate the birth of
Jesus.
What do you think it was like to wait so long for the Savior God had promised through the prophets? Do you think that was easy?
No.
Do you know how many years they had to wait for? Was it like 1 year?
No.
How long was it?
Like 100.
Even more than that, Noel. It was hundreds and hundreds of years. What town would Jesus be born to?
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. Do you know some of the names the prophet Isaiah wrote about Jesus? Do you remember some of the things Isaiah called him? He said, Wonderful Counselor, and what else? Prince
King.
of Peace,
King.
Mighty God, Everlasting Father. What would Jesus, the light of the world, do for all of the people who were living in darkness? What would he do?
He would forgive them for their sins.
Right. And he would be a great light, right? He would forgive their sins, and they would no longer be in darkness.